He-Man from the First Wave Revelations, McFarlane Toys, Batman Gladiator Nightfall, and Skeletor from Masterverse chess piece is what I used to make this figure. Thanks for watching. So I decided to add some forearm pieces to the He-Man, Batman, whatever you want to call it. So I had this DC Multiverse, the Demon, sitting in my parts bin. So I decided to Dremel out his forearm pieces and attempt to put it on the He-Bat. I had to shave a little bit off of He-Man's arms here, just so that it would make sense and his arms wouldn't be too long. So I decided to cut right above the wrist, right below the forearm. I kept one side on just to make sure I didn't make it too long or too short. Try to keep it in proportion. Just if you ever decide to cut and mix and match things, just try to keep one side, you know, where it was, and then make a judgment of how long you need the other side to be that you're actually customizing. Not that you guys wouldn't know that, but there's little things that I seem to forget sometimes. After I got it dremeled out where I thought I needed to be, I did a little bit of sanding. And there's 2 holes on top of these pieces in the forearm piece where the previous figure had the pin in. So all I did is take some multi-put and put them in those holes right there and sanded it down later just to cover the holes up. You'll see here in a minute. Yeah, those 2 holes right there from the pins. Just put some multi-put in there or some clay, sand it down. So I decided to go with just a straight primer, obviously, because it's going to be a light gray. So this is nothing fancy, just priming it out. Here's when the primer's done. Everything's primed up. Next I'll be checking the blue. Try to do a match on the cape on this spoon here. So I did a couple different tests and decided to go with one of them. One was a little too purple. One was a little too... This one here I think was a little too purple. No, that one's the one I picked right there. That dark navy blue, opposed to the original blue I was going to go with. Here's where I decided to, instead of leaving it white, I wanted a little bit darker, so I primed over the white with black primer, just so I can get a deeper blue. Here's everything after I primed it with the black primer. Real smooth, light coats. Take your time. It's almost a perfect application. It just took a while to get the mix down, to get a smooth coat without any kind of water streaks or bubbles. But anyway, this is Createx white. I'm gonna add some of this to the cup, and then I'm going to add just a few drops of black to the desired gray that I want for this Batman, He-Man, Batman. The gray turned out really nice, really smooth. Just go light applications, dry it in between with the airbrush. About 30 psi, real smooth, slow applications. Here, I'm going to use this stuff right here, Midnight Blue for the blue that I decided to go with, and this here is a little bit thicker from Folk Art. You have to really mix this one. Maybe I just used distilled water, didn't really use anything else. It's like a 60-40 mix, but you still have to check it. It always changes when you're using a thicker acrylic. Here's where I got it to where I need it to be, at least for me. The blue's really nice. I'm glad I went back and primered it black because it really made the blue a little more deeper. Really happy with that right there. Really smooth. Now I'm going to go with some antique white around the bones of the chest piece that's on Skeletor's chest piece. I'm going to go in there and do the bones around the collar and the bones on the chest. Went in with, on top of that, I want some Kaiki, whatever. I can't read. Whatever that is, Kaiki. It's a crazy looking color. It looks more like a bone off caramel, a lighter caramel. It took about 3 applications. It's a little tedious. It took some time, but it was worth it at the end. It just took a few coats to go over top of that midnight blue. That's about it right here for the bones around the chest piece and the bones on the front of the chest piece. Really smooth. Really happy how this is turning out. Real smooth paint job. Just go light coat after light coat. Dry it off a little bit in between your coats with the airbrush gun. Went in here with some Wrought Forge. It's a dark green. I add a couple drops of just opaque black to get that desired color. It's my favorite mixture. I use it all the time. Maybe I should stop using it so much. But I went in here and did the spikes on the forearm pieces. Originally here I was going to go yellow on the bat. That's on Skeletor's chest piece. But I thought the black would just go better with the theme of what was going on. Same colors I used with the spikes. The wrought iron and a couple drops of black acrylic from Createx. pretty much done, except the red in the middle. I just went with the same color and hit the little rivets around Skeletor's chest piece just to break it up a little bit more. I used a whole lot of pastel on this one, more than I usually do. I was trying to get the whole blending thing of dark and blues, and I don't know, it seems to blend well, a lot easier than paint. For me at least, it's easier to manipulate what I want to do and how I want it to look like. It's kind of cheating for me because I'm not there yet to make the paint overlap each other to make it look like where I needed it to be, if that makes any sense. But I went in here with all the straps, and this is all pastel work. Moving on back to the actual forearm pieces, I put a couple cuts in there, as you can see there, and I put pastel, all pastel shading. I don't know, it just worked well this time. It was easier, really simple. Just shade it up with some pastel and smooth it out. I was happy with it. I think I'm gonna use pastel a little more than I normally do. I'm gonna probably start using more of the pastel stuff on top of the stuff that I do. It's just user friendly for me. Same thing applies with the headpiece here, or the head sculpt. I just went in where the rivets are on side of his helmet, cowl, whatever you want to call it, the same color black as I used for the bat and the spikes. And then I went in with all the damage that was on the helmet. I went with some more pastels. You can see here the lighting's not as good. I think I forgot to turn the light on, but I'm going to go in there and do the same thing. I was going to use a little bit of silver to use sort of the damage, but it just, I don't know, I I'm just going to use the black. I used the black pastel on this one. It just felt right. It looked right for me. But yeah, that's about all I did there. Same black and same pastel. Using a Q-tip here to push, to wipe away some of the pastel that's on top of the helmet, so I can kind of manipulate it to push it into the crevices of the helmet that has the damaged spots. But yeah, that's about it. Like I said, I know I said I used a pastel, but for this piece it was just easy to manipulate where I wanted it to go to oppose a paint for this one. Here's where I go in and do some dry brushing with Createx Blue straight out of the bottle, but very, very lightly on the brush, just to hit some high spots, just to brighten it up just a little bit. Here's a little dark wash. I'm going over top of the straps on the boot, because when I got to this point I thought the pastel worked great, but it wasn't as strong as I needed it, so I did a little bit of dark wash on the boots, just in certain spots, not all over the place. Here I took some regular standard silver from Model Air, and I went in, I dry brushed it on top of the fur on the boot. I don't know why. I was experimenting, didn't know what I was doing, but after I was done I was like, oh man, this doesn't look too good. So then again I go back in and I use some pastel in some of that black, mixed it up, and then I dry brushed it again. So the silver worked out pretty good. It did, you could see it off camera, you can see a little bit of the highlights underneath that blue, if it makes any sense. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what I was doing. This experimenting stuff as you go, you know. Okay, I'm gonna get this pastel out. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going crazy with the pastel now. I'm really going to sink this pastel into the crevices of these boots on top where the fur is, and it worked out. You know, you can barely see the silver underneath that black pastel off camera, but I don't know if it did any difference. I don't know if it worked, to my advantage, where I put some highlights underneath there Just a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Just go with it sometimes. Just go with it. If worse comes to worse, you just do it again. Here's where I'm using multi-put and super glue inside the forearm pieces. And I know I got a bad angle here. I got to figure up another way to have a better angle when I'm doing these things so you guys can see it much better than looking at my hand. But I'm just pushing them up in there. I used a multi-put to keep it in place, and I also put some super glue in there just to make it double sure in my mind that it wasn't going to move when it dries. I don't know if that helps out or not, but I just didn't want it to fall off or move. I wanted to make it a permanent thing. So outside of that, man, I think Batman turned out pretty good. Here he is without the head. There you go. Really smooth. I'm really happy with it. Here's the staff in completion. I think coming up next is how I airbrushed it, but I'm really happy how this turned out. So here's the staff. It was just purple from Skeletor's Masterverse. I went in with some black primer. I black primered everything, the skull and the staff. Here's a Createx purple. I went in there and I figured I'm going to try to make it. Unfortunately with the purple, as you guys know, obviously, that it doesn't really show here. I did several coats over top of black. Purple doesn't go as well, but I thought I was going to try and manipulate the situation where I could just put coat after coat after coat after coat because I wanted it a deep purple. So you'll see here in a minute where I go in. I just paint part of the staff from the bottom to the top, a little bit of white, and then I reapply the purple. I try to do a fading effect from the bottom to the top, like right here, the purple. I don't know why I'm showing you the purple here, but again, but here's where it was white, and I did a fade in, or tried to, and then I reapplied the purple, and that's the desired look I was going for. The same color I used on the bones on the chest piece, I'm going to use on this skull. I don't want to go too dark. I think I only used one color on the skull, but I think I got four applications on this. Just a real take my time dry brush on the skull so I can leave all the black underneath as shadows, but I know it's out of screen a little bit there, but just dry brushed it a few times, heated it up with the heat gun, not too much, just to dry it off so I can finish the headpiece on the staff. And after I was done that, I just went in with some black, opaque black, and did the horns. Decided to keep the horns black, not brown, just to make it look a little different. But I appreciate you guys watching, man. Until the next one, you guys take it easy. Part 2 will be up soon.